We are reading from the second canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, chapter 10. The chapter is called, I think it's called Srimad-Bhagavatam. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So before we start reading, I would like to say that it's really, really nice here. It's wonderful. I will go back to our temple in Sweden and impress everyone the standards you have here in regards to cleanliness and everything and hospitality. Really, really appreciate it. I don't know how you do this. Like yesterday I put a bag with laundry in front, and then in the evening it was ready. And I saw many pieces and nothing missing. I made a list because very often you don't get the same thing. You know, it happened to me that I got kurtas that are, Brahmananda Prabhu would fit in. They were not mine. So these were perfect, everything. I was impressed. I got my kurtas back and my lungi and my dhotis, and the prasadam, absolutely fantastic here. And I mean, in general, I'm blown away by the whole project. Govinda Prabhu, he led me on a path yesterday. Have you been on this path? Have you seen this path? It's incredible. Is this all your lane? Does this all belong to this project, to Krishna? Wow, it's amazing. And then this morning I heard that, I think I got the name, where's Hanuman? I got the name, Guru Charana Prabhu, that he's been doing this since 1991. 1990, steadily. All that.
We are trying.
Srila Prabhupada, from what I understand, Srila Prabhupada put an enormous stress on steadiness. He wanted the devotees to find their niche or just surrender to the niche they're given by their spiritual master or by the temple president or by somebody or by the GBC or BBT trustee, and then just stick with that service. And sometimes it's hard, and most of the time, Shri Shri, Gornitai, Ki Jai. Oh, let me ask you before, who are the Shilas? I mean, Govardhan Shila, right? They're yours. They're not permanently here. Who is the one on the right? Lord Nrsingadev?
No, there's Ananda Shila, there's a Krishna Shila.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Very nice. So, when one takes responsibility, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna actually wants us to take responsibility, right? For whatever service we are given. And I listened to a morning walk of Srila Prabhupada, it must have been 1975, and he says to his disciples, I think Hari Sori was there. I couldn't hear exactly who was there. I could look it up, but I didn't. But there were several, as always, a whole group of disciples. And Srila Prabhupada said, and I was surprised by his choice of words. He said, Krishna sees your headache. Headache. Headache means the problems you are dealing with, right? Is ISKCON language, I would assume, or maybe it's not, maybe it's common language. What a headache. You know, so we have to deal with this now. We have to deal with the lawn mowing. Ah, such a headache. Everything can be a headache. It's like problems. Krishna sees, he says, that you are my managers. You know, not everybody, as I understand, was allowed to go with Srila Prabhupada on the morning walk. I don't know exactly how the system was, who determined who could go and who could not go. Devamita Maharaj, how was that? Was this?
Temple president and GBC.
Okay. So it was mostly Prabhupada's right-hand men and managers and the devotees who took the most responsibility. So Prabhupada asks, Krishna sees your headache. How does he reward you? He rewards you for taking, because it's a voluntary acceptance of problems for the preaching, for the furtherance of the Hare Krishna movement. It's not easy. It's not easy to be a manager in our movement. It's not easy to be a manager anywhere. It's just that they don't get the reward in the material world. In the spiritual world, in the Hare Krishna movement, we get a reward. And Srila Prabhupada asks his disciples, so what do you think? What is the reward? And I don't remember exactly. Maybe somebody came up with an answer, was not accepted by Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada, maybe it was silence, and then Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna rewards you with an increased taste for hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam. That is the reward. So I would like to encourage everyone who has not yet taken full responsibility for something to take responsibility, because the rewards are incredible. Once at a Vyas Puja offering, not so long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I asked Srila Prabhupada, please give me more headache. And maybe I shouldn't have done that. I sometimes regretted it because more problems came my way than I was really happy with. But I can safely state that if you manage, if you can do this, if you can take responsibility for whatever is given to you, this could be the temple room and just the cleaning of the temple room. It could be anything. But if you do it steadily and you take responsibility for it, full responsibility, as if everything depended on you, understanding that nothing depends on you really, on us, that we are not the doer, with that understanding, the Srimad-Bhagavatam becomes such a source of inspiration and pleasure that it's, in the material world, they would say it's an addiction. For personally, I must say, I have taken some headaches in the BBT and for Srila Prabhupada's movement, and for the little bit of responsibility that I'm taking, I have to say I'm getting an increasing taste. As we grow older, the taste increases and increases and increases. It's unlimited. So we have started. About 4 years ago, we have started to read the Srimad-Bhagavatam at the temple where I am in Sweden, very, very concentrated. Every day, 1 verse, 2 verses. Sometimes it takes us 5 days to go through 1 verse. If it's a little more complicated, if the purport is more complicated, it can take us 5 days for 1 verse. We just had one in the 10th canto. We just reached the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And we are now in the chapter where Krishna kicks the cart. And the children say, it was Krishna. And the Gopas and the Gopis and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda said, yeah, it's fine, very good. Go playing. They didn't believe it. They said it must have been a demon or an evil planet. It cannot have been little Krishna. So then they somehow, I'm not exactly sure how they reassembled this cart, but they did. They must have called in a handyman with some tools or something. And then the cart they put all these heavy pots back on. And we have not yet reached the point where Krishna is taken by the Trinavarta, by the whirlwind demon. So he still dealt with this Shakatasura, is the cart demon. Now the question came up, what is a cart demon? Is this a shapeshifter that kind of shifts into the... I mean, all demons are, to some extent, shapeshifters, right? What are demons? I have learned the last few years that demons are sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths. That's how we call this nowadays. We don't... Although right now in the material world, in the news, they use the word demon and demonic increasingly much. I'm surprised that they do this. I haven't seen this for a long time. It is used now in regards to war situations. There's this one in Israel, Gaza, Russia, Ukraine, so the word demon, demonic, comes up more and more. In our modern language, we say psychopath, narcissist, sociopath. It actually, I would say, it really pays off. For me, it paid off immensely when I started studying narcissism. I started seeing the world differently. When one goes through the Bhagavatam and one has these epiphanies. You know what an epiphany is? Epiphany is when all of a sudden, there was this guy, was it Pythagoras? Some kind of a philosopher. He was in a bathtub and he wanted to know the volume of his body, and then he saw the water rising in the bathtub. Remember that from school? Archimedes, yes, that's it. And he said, wow! He jumped out without clothes on. He ran through the town in Greece, wherever he was, Athens probably, and he screamed, Eureka, Eureka. He found it. So one has these epiphanies. They come when you read the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And when we started reading, but we started from the third canto. That's when it hit us that we should go very carefully, very systematically through the Srimad-Bhagavatam every day, 364 days a year. Why 364? Anyone knows? Because for some reason, I have never figured it out, on Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, we do not have a Srimad-Bhagavatam reading. Do you have in your temples? No. And in where we don't. It's kind of ironic. I sometimes think maybe we should have 2 readings or 3 readings on that day. So every day, when you do this every day, you understand what's going on, right? There's Parikshit Maharaj. Shukadeva Goswami is not even in the picture in the beginning. The first. When is he coming in? I think at the last chapter of the first canto? I think so. Until the last chapter, Shukadeva Goswami is not even in the picture. Then he comes in. Now he's fully active here. So this is probably end of day 1 or something, where they sit and Parikshit Maharaj asks an amazing set of questions. And now Shukadeva Goswami is answering these, and I have to quickly, I'm really sorry, I have to go to this book. I forgot to do this because it's so automatic for me that I just go there. No, oh boy. The text in the books is a little small for me, and all 52 books. No. Srila Prabhupada. Oh boy, I can't find it. Okay, so, okay, then we read. I'll try to read straight from the book. Sorry about that. His teachings, books, his books, and why all 52 books that they're supposed to come here, no? Vani source? No. Okay, so questions by Parikshit Maharaj, and you have read them not so long ago, right? Who remembers the questions that Parikshit Maharaj asked? Anyone remembers one or two of the questions?
What is the duty of one who is about to die?
Sorry?
What is the duty of one who is about to die?
Yes, very important question. So Parikshit Maharaj asked amazing questions. And now Parikshit Maharaj is entering a quite philosophical section of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and he establishes that the Srimad-Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So no matter what serious question you be posed, it doesn't matter. What is the universe? What is our role in the universe? Is there a God? Is there a supreme? What is the duty of the kshatriya? What is the duty of the brahmana? Everything. The Bhagavatam answers all these questions. And then there's something mysteriously happening. I don't know if you've noticed that. When you have a question to the Bhagavatam, and I've noticed this in the beginning when I joined, I always wanted to ask a question to the devotee usually the spiritual master who read from the book and who gave the lecture. And questions come up, so I want to ask the question. But there were so many people, there were 100 people in the temple room. Very often I didn't get a chance. And then what happened? The next day, or 2 days later, Srila Prabhupada answers the question in the purport, or in the verse or in the purport. The Bhagavatam is the answer to all the questions, even the questions that we have. Not only Parikshit Maharaj. It sounds maybe, as Devamrita Swami said, maybe a little preposterous to the modern student in the university that this is the answer to all questions, but it is. It is. I just discussed this with Jonathan yesterday before he left for Milan. There is a section of the scientific community that is not psychopathic, narcissistic, or sociopathic. In other words, there are good people in the scientific community. The ones who are good people, they tend to be honest. And they admit that actually we don't get it. We don't understand what's going on. Especially, so for example, physics. What is physics? Physics should explain how everything works, right? That's physics. Gravity, whatever, anything that happens, how the universe was created, how it will end, what happens in the sun, it explains what the gases and the heat but ultimately they admit we don't get it. Physics has come pretty much to an end. Of course, many do not admit it. They don't dare to say it, because if they say it, there's no more money, right? Because it's a lot about money. There is this particle collider at CERN in Geneva, right? You heard about the particle collider? 30 kilometers or something, I think it's 30 kilometers. They collide, they shoot the particles around until they have 99.89 or something % of the speed of light, and then they hit them, and then what? Then they take pretty pictures. They have 3 cameras installed. One is called the Atlas, I don't remember the name of the other. Each camera has a name. Then when the particles shoot together, a subatomic particle or something flies out. For how long? Usually about a billionth of a second. Sometimes they say a millionth of a billionth, which I think is a trillionth of a second. And while it's flying out, they take a picture, and then from the path or from the energy, they can measure the energy, and then they can say what they photographed. What they're all looking for is the Higgs boson. That's one thing of CERN. They have to find the Higgs boson. Do you know what the Higgs boson is? It's also called the God particle. Have you heard of the God particle in physics? Devamrita you haven't.
I'll leave it to our expert.
Why do they call it the God particle? Is there a physicist?
Yes.
Why do they call it the God particle?
Because it is very difficult to detect.
Shall I give you the scoop? They were sitting together. Professor Higgs in Edinburgh, in Scotland, he's a theoretic physicist. He calculated that for the standard model to work, we need the Higgs boson. Otherwise, the whole thing doesn't work. Is that correct? We need the Higgs boson. So CERN is trying to find it. They came together, they said, how are we going to call this particle? At that time, it wasn't called the Higgs boson. It didn't have a name yet. The guy who asked the question, you know what he said? How are we going to call this goddamn particle? And then another one said, according to my knowledge, it's the true story. Another scientist said, let's call it the goddamn particle. And another said, no, everyone who has a little bit of religious sentiment will not like this. Then another one said, why don't we call it the God particle? We just dropped the damn. God, that's how he got the name. The God particle. It has nothing to do with, it's not that science all of a sudden became theistic. So now they're trying to find this particle. Big celebration. When was it? 6 years ago?
Yeah, maybe more.
We found it. Champagne, huge amount of champagne in this hall where the Atlas, I think it was the Atlas, that photographed it. Have you seen that they came out a year ago and said it wasn't the Higgs? Most likely it wasn't the Higgs because the energy doesn't have enough energy, it doesn't match. We need 80 billion euros more to build a stronger one. And it was granted. The EU has granted. Are you at CERN? No.
I'm an astronomer.
Sorry?
I am an astronomer.
Are you an astronomer? Okay. Why is everything moving faster away and faster? Why not? Usually when there's a bang, everything is slowing down, right? Why is it faster and faster?
Avoid energy.
It's all mysterious, isn't it? Highly mysterious. So, science, which I sometimes call a religion, is not giving the answers. Not. It doesn't, actually. It doesn't. Who was this? Newton, who had the apple falling. He was asked, he said, I can tell you at which speed the apple falls, but why it falls, you have to ask God. I cannot tell you. Anyways, in the meantime, we have gravitational waves and so many things, but okay, text number, which one is it? 10. Yesterday's verse, all three of the above-mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. So we talked a little bit more about this yesterday. I struggled with this verse, I have to admit, and I said it yesterday. But it's clear, that when I heard then the king, and what's a king without a subject? Epiphany. It was a small one, but it was an epiphany. When I heard that the word hierarchy, that Shukadev Goswami is establishing a hierarchy, great, everyone interdependent, nobody is independent, everybody is dependent. We think, as a materialist, we think we are independent. We have no idea how controlled we are. Most of the people have absolutely no idea how controlled they are. They think free, one of the biggest questions in philosophy, free will, how much free will? It's actually It's fundamental, it's important, but it's very little. I can tell you, if you have a little time later, I'll tell you my experience. I had an epiphany about how Super Soul acts, how Super Soul guides us, how Lord Vishnu guides us within the world. We think that I'm gonna get some ice cream now. I'm gonna walk to the shop and I'm gonna buy some ice cream. We have no idea that there are so many forces and so many objectives behind that. We are just used to now walk there, and we are fulfilling a purpose. And Super Soul is scanning, and more about that later. We are not independent. That's the main thing. We are not independent. Okay, now the internet arrived. Okay. Now I'm not gonna get it. Okay. So, in the absence of one, another is not understood. So there's a system, there's a whole complete system. I get it now. But the Supreme Being who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. So who is the absolute shelter? And Hanuman came to me, it was Hanuman who came to me and he said Ashraya. Is that the word? Ashraya? And when we look at Ashraya, what were the definitions? Support.
Origin, dependent. What else? Well, the origin, the resting place.
When we look at the entire meaning of the word Ashraya.
Yeah, but here it had this supporting.
Yeah.
Mutually supporting.
The absolute supreme shelter and support is Krishna. Also of the scientists. We cannot make anything, right? We're not producing anything. We think we are cooking a sabji. We have not produced the energy to cook with. We haven't produced the vegetables. We may think we produced them, but we have maybe put the seed in the ground, but we haven't produced the seed, we haven't produced the ground. What have we done? What can we claim ownership of? Zippo. Absolutely zero. Ultimately it's all Krishna's. Krishna has given us the universe, the material world, to live out our dreams, right? If you are not a good person, your dreams are pretty crazy. And then you can act out your narcissistic, psychopathic dreams. And if you're a good person, you will most likely be influenced by narcissists and psychopaths, by the demons, and you will also have strange dreams. But then when you gradually become a devotee, your dreams, your ideas, what to do with this gigantic sandbox, becoming nicer and nicer and nicer, and you try to not create a mess. You try to not create any trouble, any pain for anyone. As a devotee, Prabhupada says, when you walk in the forest, it's not easy to walk in the forest with all the ants and everything. The more you progress in devotional life, the less, what do you call this? Footprint. I think one calls it footprint. One wants to have. Whether in that sense, we are really in line with the climate change hoax people. But the footprint, we want to have a very small footprint. Ultimately, we don't even want to be seen, really. We don't want to, Hare Krishna, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to say anything to hurt anyone. I don't want to do anything to hurt anyone. That's the gentleness of a devotee that is gradually developing in every devotee, right? First we come in as pretty puffed up and harsh, but by continuous chanting, hearing from the Bhagavatam, we are becoming gentler, hopefully, gentler and gentler and gentler. And if you think, every now and then, even I am self-reflective, and I think, How is my life today compared to last year or 5 years ago? Is it better, or is it not as good? If I have to say, it gets better and better and better, despite old age creeping in a little bit. But you know, the human system is so amazing. Like, there are people who don't have a brain, and they work and they function. There are people who get bullets shot through their brain, and the brain builds some new pathways and fixes everything. We are getting old, it doesn't work so well anymore. The brain, the neurons don't, but we have experience. We have hopefully developed a little bit of, not developed wisdom, but we are open to wisdom from the spirit, from the parampara, and that makes up for the shortcomings. We cannot walk so fast anymore, but we have more and more realization of what this is all about. So now text number 10, let's chant. I personally like to chant immediately in unison. If that's okay with you, that's what I'm used to. So we just go straight in and all together. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Puruṣa-avatāra vinirvidya yadāsau sa vinirgataḥ ātmano yanam anvicchann srākṣīc śucīḥ puruṣa-avatāra vinirvidya yadāsau sa vinirgataḥ ātmano yanam anvicchann srākṣīc śucīḥ puruṣa-avatāra vinirvidya yadāsau sa vinirgataḥ ātmano yanam anvicchann srākṣīc śucīḥ puruṣa-avatāra vinirvidya yadāsau sa vinirgataḥ ātmano yanam anvicchann srākṣīc śucīḥ. Purusha, the Supreme Person, Paramatma, ṇḍaṁ, the universes, vinirbhidya, making them each separately situated. Making them each separately situated means making them each separately situated. That means that the universes are individual, they are separately situated. Yada, when. Aso, the same. Sa, he, the Lord. Vinirgataḥ, came out. Ātmana, of himself. Yanam, lying in place. Anvicchann, desiring. Apah, water. Srākṣīc, well, it's a long I actually, it's srākṣīc, created. Śucīḥ, the most pure. Śucīḥ, transcendental. Translation. How long is the purport? Whoa. We're not going to get through that. Wow, that's a 2.5 page purport. Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna, wonderful. So this must be a very interesting verse. When Srila Prabhupada gives us 2.5 pages purport, there's a lot to unpack. Where would we be without Srila Prabhupada's unpacking? I thought this yesterday. I thought if I would not have Srila Prabhupada, have the access to Srila Prabhupada, if there were no devotees who would unpack this for me, if I would have found the Srimad-Bhagavatam, I went to India before I joined the Hare Krishna movement. If I would have come across the Srimad-Bhagavatam, latest at yesterday's verse, I would have probably taken it away and said, I don't get it. But because the verse, the chapter has the stamp of approval by Prabhupada, has been unpacked by Srila Prabhupada, and the parampara, which Prabhupada incorporates into all his purports, I know it's a great verse. It's worth of consideration, of deep meditation, of hearing again and again until I get it, and continuing the path of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. We all read many books, but did we finish? Did we go? No, because we did not have before we ever got in contact with Prabhupada, we didn't have that stamp of approval, that faith, that total, absolute faith that Prabhupada gave it to us. It has so much value that my lifetime is by far not enough to even understand and get into one chapter of the Bhagavatam. We will be fine. I will be fine for the next 10,000 lifetimes, just continuing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I haven't entered the Chaitanya Charitamrita yet. I read it 25 years ago, honestly, and life is so short. Life is so short. So when we're done with the Srimad Bhagavatam now, we're going to go into the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I read every now and then a little bit, but not systematically, where I really follow the line of thought, the train of thought, because this is all very psychological. The Bhagavatam, this is so psychologically built up. This is so didactic. This is the absolute perfection in, what do you call this? When the art of teaching, in England, what one should study at university if you become a teacher, pedagogics. This is the epitome of pedagogics, right? Is that the pronunciation, pedagogics? Okay. How do you pronounce pedagogics? Pedagogics. Oh, well, it was pretty close. Okay, so the translation of this verse. After separating the different universes, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, Mahā-Viṣṇu, which came out of the Causal Ocean, the place of appearance for the first puruṣa-avatāra, entered into each of the separate universes, desiring to lie on the created transcendental water, again, Srila Prabhupada said, Garbhodaka. So the Mahā-Viṣṇu is called the Karnataka Viṣṇu, and then he creates all the bubbles, right? I call them bubbles, the universes, and then he enters into each one as the Garbhodaka. So, wow. I read it once more, a little faster, and then purport. How long do we go?
9 o'clock.
Oh, great. After separating the different universes, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, Mahā-Viṣṇu, but the which refers to the gigantic universal form of the Lord, which came out of the Causal Ocean, the place of appearance for the first puruṣa-avatāra, entered into each of the separate universes, desiring to lie on the created transcendental water, the Garbhodaka, the Garbhodaka Ocean, Garbhodaka Viṣṇu on the Garbhodaka Ocean. And then later we know another expansion to the Kshiro Dakashai Viṣṇu. Whenever I think about the Kshirodakashaya Viṣṇu, when the demigods are in trouble, what do? They go to Brahma. When it's really in trouble, they go to Brahma. What do they ask him? Can you bring us to the milk ocean? Can we ask Lord Vishnu for help? They do. Lord Vishnu responds in the 8th canto, which not so long ago we studied in Korsnäs in Sweden. The demons, the demigods, they had this battle. The demigods, Indra was totally ahead of everything. It went fantastically. He was about to wipe out the entire psychopathic, demonic race. And what happens? Brahma comes to the shore and says, Indra, stop. Don't kill all of them. And I thought, oh, why not? Wouldn't it be wonderful? No, we still need them. We still need a few. Spare a few for later, because this material world needs demons. Because if there are no demons, we would like to stay. I would definitely like to stay. But it's only demons that give you the trouble, right? It's only the psychopath, the narcissists and the psychopaths that are troublesome in your life. Nothing else, really. Is it? Isn't it? The thing that worries you, and then gradually you learn to handle. When you understand it, then you learn how to deal with that. You understand where these people come from. You understand how unhappy they are, that they do everything out of a deep frustration, out of envy, etc. And then, when you figure that out, then this wonderful purport in the 10th canto, where that was an epiphany for me. Because I always thought, why is Krishna not coming? It's so bad out there already. Why is he not coming? Wouldn't it be time to come and clean up this mess? So many hardcore, and many of them we don't even know where they are. They're in the shadow governments. We don't even know who they are, right? We only see the puppets in the front. Krishna, why is he not coming? And then Prabhupada says, Krishna has appeared in the form of the Hare Krishna movement. Krishna is the Hare Krishna movement. The Hare Krishna movement is Krishna. Prabhupada says that in the purport. I thought, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Krishna is here. We know he's here in the sound incarnation in the Bhagavatam, the holy name. But come and clean up. Krishna is here in the form of the Hare Krishna movement. Wow. It gave me a lot of solace. At that moment I knew, I always knew that there's probably nothing better out there. When I fly and people ask me, they say, where are you from? They ask me about the philosophy, and they say, how long have you been doing this? And okay, and they say, well, what about this? Isn't there something better? And I said, well, if you give me something better, I'll go there. But I haven't found anything, and I don't think there is anything better. So with all its little problems, headaches, for which we are grateful, the Hare Krishna movement is still the best place to be in this world. Absolutely. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. After analysis of the living entities and the Supreme Lord, Paramatma, the independent source of all other living beings, Srila Shukadeva Goswami is now presenting the prime necessity for devotional service to the Lord. Oh, I'm curious. What is the prime necessity? Which is the only occupational business of all living entities. So devotional service is the only occupational business. Prabhupada says business. He doesn't mean business. He means duty, engagement. I guess it's totally fine to say business, but to the modern reader, this in Germany or in Sweden, they might think trade. We're not really trading. So devotional service is the only occupational business of all living entities. It's just that most of them don't know it, right? Most of them, I always thought that for decades, I thought that the statement that there are only devotees, there's only suras and asuras, there's only devotees and demons. And I thought this is extreme. But it's okay. I accepted it. I accept it. Srila Prabhupada says it. He mentions it quite often. And I thought, yeah, I can't really exactly see that it's only isn't there something in between, or isn't there something? Then I heard for some time that, yeah, there's a demon living in all of us in the Kali Yuga, but the more I realize about what's going on, it is like that. It is only good people and bad people ultimately. Now the bad people are also Krishna's parts and parcels. Krishna doesn't hate them. Krishna doesn't hate the demons. Brahma doesn't hate them. He stopped Indra from killing the last ones. He said, we need them. Don't kill these guys. We need a few. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what does he do with the hardcore demons? He throws them into lower and lower species. I used to think that was kind of a punishment. No, it's not. It's not a punishment at all. Krishna doesn't punish, as I understand. Why does he throw them into lower species? Because that's where you do not create new karma. Animals do not create, or plants do not create new karma. The only hope for somebody who's done some really bad stuff, who hurt others, the weaker members of society, the cows, the brahmanas, the children, the elderly, whoever hurts, who abuses others, doing bad things, you abuse, and you get even satisfaction out of abusing because you are so frustrated yourself. How are these people, they create so much karma by doing this. How will they ever see the day of light again? So Krishna says, okay, mercy. You're going to go through animal life, and what does an animal do? An animal simply, Prabhupada says animal life means suffering. My daughter has a dog, a little tiny Maltese, a white dog, a little white fluffy dog. And so I can study this quite at close range, that animal life is primarily suffering. There's no doubt about that. So what does this mean? It means the karma load, the account, the back, what you carry with you is decreased with every life form that you take. With every life, it's decreased, and then you get another chance. And if you screw up, what is Krishna going to do? Back again, start over. There's no hurry, right? What's the hurry? A few billion years, a few trillion years? There's no problem. It's not very. Time is very relative. So, and then you can eventually become a good person. What is quite amazing that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he explains the demonic nature. He explains what is a demon, what is a psychopath. And he says, Arjuna, don't worry, you're not one of them. That always hit me a little bit, like, did Arjuna think that he might be one? Well, good people, they're not convinced that they're good people, right? They see the fault in themselves because we are committing mistakes all the time. We have crazy thoughts, etc. So back to the major population, to the living entities in the material world. There are the good ones, there are the really bad ones. If you are trained by a bad person, if you're a caregiver, your parent is a narcissist, there's a high chance that you will become a narcissist. You will never become a psychopath. You can only be born as a psychopath. That's from past life. But you can become through trauma or through training by caregivers, you can become a narcissist. But most people in the world, psychologists say that about 6% of the population is narcissistic, between narcissistic and a narcissist, about 6%. So that means 6 out of 100. So the other 94 are actually good people. But why are they not acting as good people? Because we are influenced by the propaganda. They are influenced, and we are influenced by the propaganda of the bad people. The bad people are the ones that Krishna's parts and parcels who like to be really bad, who are so frustrated that they like to cause harm to others. Their propaganda is powerful. And most people in the world, once they have learned through contact with devotees, especially with a book distributor. I mean, it was one of my things many years ago, but I wired book distributors, and I stood with a pretty good video camera 50 meters away, hoping that nobody would stand in front of me and walk in front of me. They were wired up with a remote, and I could listen in and film the interaction between the book distributor and that person in the street. And it is absolutely amazing how some of these people are melting away, how happy. I didn't know this before because I never got a chance to distribute very many books. But when you see it, when you see an experienced book distributor, somebody who breathes it, who in the morning gets up and says, "Where's the book?" Vaisheshika Prabhu, when we go in South Africa, I was blown away by this. We went from one place to another. We needed gas. It was a gas station. Everybody was stretching their legs. He distributed a book at the gas station. That's when you can be the fly on the wall. When you hear what's going on between the book distributor and that person, you realize that there are a lot of really good people out there. They are not demonic. They are not psychopathic. They do not want to hurt you. They do not want to hurt a baby or a child or a woman or a cow or anyone. They are actually intrinsically good. Most people are actually good people, but just badly influenced. And one of the hope is the golden age. And we talked about it yesterday. We are in the golden age, right? Some devotees come to me and say, when is this finally going to start? We are in the golden age. If we would have gone to this Marco man yesterday at this printing house, and we would have asked him, hey, here is the money, here's the check or the transfer, please print 5 million Italian Bhagavad Gitas for us. I asked Hare Krishna, would he say yes? The guy would dance. They would say this was the best day of his life so far. Nobody comes and says print 5 million books. Doesn't exist, doesn't happen. The fact that we can do this is the proof that we are in the golden age. I mean, come on, in Italy, 2,000 years ago, the Christians, they couldn't even meet secretly. They were thrown to the lions. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I heard they were thrown to the lions just because they were praying together, praising Jesus and the Lord. The fact that we can sit here and talk about the psychopaths out there, wherever they may be, in the upper echelon of society, that we can do this, and well, hopefully, I don't know, you're streaming this? Oh, I've never streamed. I'm totally again. I don't stream anything. I hope they don't know who I am. The fact that we can do this is amazing. That is the golden age. If we go out now into Albettone, can we do a Harinam right now? Or is the police going to stop us?
Never tried.
You never tried. My prediction is, if we do it sensibly, nicely, no problem. That is golden age. Okay, the living entities. And what is the occupational business of all the living entities? What is it? He said 9 o'clock. Am I? Sorry. The occupational business, the occupational duty, what everyone actually actually would love to do is devotional service. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and all his plenary portions and extensions of plenary portions are non-different from one another, and thus the supreme independence is in each and every one of them. Complete. In order to prove this, so Shukadeva Goswami thinks now he has to prove this to Parikshit Maharaj. How is it that Lord Vishnu, the Karanodakashayi Vishnu and the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu and every other avatar, that they actually fully empowered, totally independent, supremely independent. He thinks he has to prove this now. He says, and then Prabhupada says, to prove this, Shukadeva Goswami, as promised to King Parikshit, he promised him, I'm going to prove to you scientifically. So Shukadeva describes herein the independence of the puruṣa-avatāra personality of Godhead, even in the sphere of material creation. And this is what differentiates us from the Mayavadis. We know that, right? The Mayavadis, sometimes in our movement, you're such a Mayavadi. No. A Mayavadi is a person who thinks that Krishna, when he enters the material realm, that he is somehow under the laws of nature or he is not totally independent anymore. Maya, one translation of the word Maya is that which can be measured. Right? So humans, people, we always want to measure things. We want to know how big is the ṇḍaṁ. We're not supposed to do that. The ṇḍaṁ is here, this is a ṇḍaṁ. And as we go further out and out, it gets thinner and thinner. But just like the atmosphere around planet Earth, where does it end? Who can say where the atmosphere ends? Nobody. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. They say, that's what the scientists tell us. In the same way, a ṇḍaṁ, we should not say here is what is it, UP or Haryana, but what is UP? And here is Vrindavan Dham. We shouldn't do that. Maya, that which can be measured. Spirit, transcendence, cannot be measured. It makes no sense. You don't measure. To measure Mahā-Viṣṇu, we don't measure him. He is huge. But what does huge mean? What does this even mean? He is. Is that correct understanding? Vaisheshika Prabhu, would you agree with that?
No, which part?
That we should not, that there's no point in measuring transcendence.
Well, it seems that there are definitive statements about the circumference of Vrindavan, but oftentimes they're modified to include the fact that, well, for instance, Advaitacharya told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever you are is Vrindavan. So they're both senses. There's one sense that it is measurable. It's like this is the area. And then we have Goloka Namni Nija Damni Tale Tatasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Te Te Prabhava Nichayavi Hitashtayena Govindamadi Puruṣam. And it's like defining realms. There's a definition to each realm. So that part caught my ear, like UP and Vrindavan. Once you leave the realm, which is mostly defined by the sound vibration.
Right.
When you're in Vrindavan, it's Radhe, Radhe. When you get to Delhi, it's like, do you need a ride somewhere? So I think both elements are there.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but I think both things are there.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But the size, how large is the Mahā-Viṣṇu? Prabhu.
Since you're stirring it up, the Vrindavan Dham expands and contracts according to Krishna's pastimes.
Isn't that Vrindavan is like a lotus flower? Krishna, he can go anywhere.
Totally spiritual.
Yeah, he completely
Nothing
controlled. He completely controls it. Like if you wanted something, the lotus flower would come together, and they would have their pastimes, and then it would go out, in and out. So it's impossible to really,
So where are we right now?
that I don't know.
Are we in the material world or are we in the spiritual world?
We're in the embassy of the spiritual world.
That's right. Wherever devotees come together, talk about Krishna, and where there are deities, where there's the Srimad-Bhagavatam.
I just want to say also, in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, it's mentioned how the largest, it speaks in terms of the largest planet is Goloka Vrindavan, and it's always expanding.
So-
It's larger than all of the Vaikuntha planets put together,
Right.
but it's always expanding.
Yeah.
So you kind of get that both sides. It's
Yeah.
measurable, but
It's inconceivable. Inconceivable.
Yeah.
3 more minutes. They say. So even in the sphere of the material creation, Lord Vishnu is absolutely independent, powerful, spiritual, total transcendence. I sometimes, to get a feel for how Krishna comes into the material realm, I sometimes think in terms of virtual reality. I like to see the material world as a virtual reality, like a little bit like a computer game. And let's say the creator of the computer game, he can enter into that realm. Is he under the laws of that creation, of the code that he writes? No, he's not. Absolutely not. Is it limited? No, he can code it in such a way that if his avatar in the computer game reaches the end of his world, he can code it in such a way that the world expands. Right? It's a simple way of coding. So when Krishna comes into the material realm, it's like a controller of code. He is not under the code. He is not, he programs it in such a way that he's always aloof. He can wipe it out. That's what Krishna does. Sometimes, everything is wound up, and then the bubbles, the universes come out again, and they go back. All the living entities, we come out and then go back. Total control. In stark contrast to us. We think we are controllers, and we control very, very little. Okay? Maybe one more sentence. Such activities of the Lord are also transcendental, meaning coming into this material world. And Krishna says in the Gita that we should understand, it's very important to understand how he comes and what he does when he's here. The appearance and activities. Hare Krishna. Such activities of the Lord are also transcendental, and therefore they are also lila, or pastimes of the absolute Lord. Such pastimes of the Lord, including his coming as Lord Vishnu or any avatar, such pastimes of the Lord are very conducive to the hearers for self-realization in the field of devotional service. Some may argue, why not then relish the transcendental Leela of the Lord as exhibited in the land of Mathura and Vrindavan, which are sweeter than anything in the world? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur replies that the pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan are meant to be relished by advanced devotees of the Lord. Neophyte devotees will misunderstand such supreme transcendental activities of the Lord, and therefore the Lord's pastimes in the material sphere related to creation, maintenance, and destruction are verily relishable by the prakrita or mundane devotees of the Lord. I relish them a lot. So I'm definitely in that category. We were a little hesitant to go into the 10th canto, but Srila Prabhupada made it possible, so we dare. But I feel very comfortable with the Vishnus and what they do and how they act and how they slash, how Lord Nrsimhadev slashes and Varaha, Lord Varaha does his act with what's his name, Hiranyaksha, etc. So the Bhagavatam is amazing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Shri Gonitai ki jai, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. How do you mark it? I am not used to clapping in the temple room.